And, when they talk about boxes, they say think out of the box. A lot of times, boxes are frameworks.
Yeah.
Frameworks are like what we study.
Yeah.
So it's the way we do it, right? And they say think outside how we do it. Outside how the box.
Where
right?
are you going?
Absolutely. The people in the box will resist.
Yeah.
Typically.
True.
Because this is what they've always known. This is what they've always done. And we're not typically excited about change. Especially when we can't see results from it immediately.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode. Today we're back and it is again one of our podcast interviewish type of sessions where I am not the only one that's giving you all the juice, and I have a very special person whom I have admired from afar. I have had the pleasure, privilege and honor to interact with him, listen to him, and hopefully we can start to do some work together very soon.
Absolutely.
And his name is John. John is going to today help us to answer the questions that we have around what is it that we should do, buy or build, And it's not going to be from just say, oh, go and buy, don't buy, come and build. But, help you see behind the scenes of what these things entail and what it is that you should look out for. So, John, hello, welcome.
Hello, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having me. Oh, thank you for coming.
And I always feel like I don't have enough to share, so you'll just try to work with what I have.
Oh, well, we will work with what you have, because, that's what we all do. We're working with what we have.
Absolutely.
Make the best and the most of everything that we have.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with helping people to know you a bit better. Introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about who you are, what drives you, what makes you do what you do.
Absolutely, happy to. So, you already know my name is John Oamen. I recently founded a company called CutStruct Technology. And the ethos of that company is basically us trying to cut cost in construction using technology. And how do we do this exactly? We don't use a knife to cut cost. We basically look at processes that already sort of work, and we find a way to digitize them. So typically when you have a good project manager on a project, it succeeds, right? Because of the project manager.
Yeah.
Typically what now happens is that he gets referrals. And so I tell you that I had this fantastic guy, so you call him and then she calls him and everybody calls him. And now he has 10 projects. And as soon as he begins to spread himself thin, the projects start to deteriorate. So the experiences start to sort of lose. Value. And so what technology does is that it takes these things that he does that makes him succeed, and it builds them into systems such that whether John is there or Francis is there or Lerato is there, because there's a system, then you have guaranteed repeated success. So for example, you hear in procurement companies have certain things where they say take samples or take invoices from 10 companies and profile like this. That's now brought to a platform like ours. So it helps people get that success, all the time. So the idea of what CutStruct is doing is basically digitizing existing but successful processes and making it easy for everybody to have access to that. Beyond my work life, of course, I'm married to my beautiful wife Victoria, 12 years now. Nice. We have a set of twins, a boy and a girl that are 11. I'm big on, sort of taking my experiences and turning them into learnings for other people. It's the kind of thing that I live for, which is why when you reached out, as tough as, scheduling it was, I made time to be here. I'm fun-loving as well. I'm not always about work. Sometimes I like to hang out. I typically chill by listening to loud music. So I go to a place and I listen to loud music and I hang out with friends, and then we talk about our problems and our successes and everything, and that's sort of how I unwind. Apart from when I'm working or when I'm reading or when I'm listening to podcasts myself. So that's a bit about me.
That's actually quite a handful. Like even I am like, okay, I didn't know that about John, but it all makes sense. And talking about what it is that CutStruct does, to be honest, when I read about CutStruct, I was like, wow. Different things just kept going off my head, because I could then see how it is that someone who is not so knowing could then come into the I want to invest, I want to build a property, I want to do construction, and then just plug into your system and actually say, this is what it is. I mean, so
Absolutely.
without you saying, oh, I'm looking for this vendor or I'm looking for this person, you have a process, you have a system that guides you and tells you what should, what can't be, and all of that. And it makes the process easier if you're going to do it by yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, which also drove the reason why I asked you to come here.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've talked about what you're doing, let's talk about how you started. Because
Gotcha.
every time people think of real estate, they think, oh, they want to go and be the developer.
Mhm.
I have that challenge. I say not everybody can be a developer.
Mhm.
There are other ends or there are other points in
Mhm.
the entire value chain
Absolutely.
that need to be filled.
Mhm.
And which is why we're saying that we want to be very big on collaboration.
Absolutely.
You are good at this, you are good at this, you're good at this. Let's bring it together and make the entire investment experience better for the people who are in it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about how you started. I mean, one very specific question that I'm hoping that you would answer would be, why did you choose this as
Mhm.
against being a developer?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, how did I start? First of all, how I started my whole career, I started as an agent by chance. It was the job I got because my boss at the time, was my sister's husband. Maybe they were still dating when I started. I can't remember, but they're married now. And so I worked for him as an agent. And basically, my job was to help people find homes, between Ikoyi and Ekpe. So it was Ireland. And I quickly realized that most times people, will say, oh, I need a 4-bedroom because I need a room for my this,
Yeah.
I need a room for my that, and I
Yeah.
need this for this and that. But by the time you drill down to their budget,
Yeah.
they can probably afford a 2-bedroom.
Mhm.
And so it behooved on me, if I was going to close deals,
Mhm.
to help them fit their needs or what they thought they needed into the spaces they could afford. Because I had long seasons of drought where I'm taking people around different places. Their budget is not growing. If
Yeah.
at all, it's depleting
Yeah.
on all the movement, right? And it's clear that they cannot afford what they want.
Yeah.
So creativity is making the most out of, the situations when everything is fixed, right?
Yeah.
And so creativity was, what? You want a 3-bedroom because you have kids who fit in one room, you and your wife will fit in one, and you want one for a study, eh?
Yeah.
How about I build you a collapsible table in your bedroom so that in the daytime when your wife goes to work, you can have that study,
Okay.
and at nighttime you fold
Fold
up
it
the
up
table
and it's
and it
done.
becomes your bedroom. And so that's how I sort of started being able to close deals. But more importantly, it opened me up to an interior design business. And so I remember the first few deals I had, I called interior designers to do them with me. But I've always been that guy who is sort of versatile. So I was interested in also learning what they were doing. And after a while, I told myself, I'm not going to need these guys anymore. I'm going to build a team for this. So
Yeah.
that's sort of how my interior design business, started. And then that became construction finishing when somebody said, can you knock down these walls? And it started getting more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew from that to working one of the big developers in Lagos for proper construction. So
Right.
over about 10, 12 years, that span, I had gone through agency to interior design to construction to finishing and then to construction.
Yeah.
Now, one of the biggest discoveries I had when I went in there, because I always wanted to see how the Julius Berger sites were.
Yeah.
Like, I asked myself, why are these guys always able to deliver quality in Nigeria and the rest of us are not?
Not.
So I remember walking into one of them and I realized that they had a lot of processes. It was process. In fact, the biggest thing for me was that I walked in there and I saw one of my tilers walking there.
Oh, wow.
This is a guy who won't do the right thing.
On his
But
own.
he could walk there
There.
because they had processes.
Yeah.
So somehow I think that idea had been forming in my head. And so by the time I was done working with this developer and I was looking for my next challenge, it just occurred to me that the next challenge will be help people build systems that help them win.
Right.
And when they win, I will win
you
as
win.
well.
Yeah.
Because of course, being in industry events, talking to my colleagues who are developers, everybody has the same issues.
True.
It's either, finding it difficult to source materials,
Yep.
finding proper financing for
Yep.
it sometimes,
Yep.
when your cash flow is,
Drying up.
a bit low,
Yeah.
or even managing, your inventory on site, inventory in, inventory out, managing theft,
Yep.
managing, proper use of materials. These are the reasons why it's tough for people to think of self-building.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
if the guy who is the developer is having these challenges, you're almost like, who am I?
Who are you going to do it? Yeah.
Right? But being a bit exposed, checking out what's done, in other parts of the world, I realized that there's actually systems. There's actually software that, if properly engaged, can deliver these things. The only challenge then was that a lot of the software that is abroad was not localized for the level of our thinking here.
Or even terminology, how we
all the things that make us who we are, our realities, right? And so typically when companies get those software, give them 3 months, they're going to pack it.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work.
Because it's not filling all
Everybody
the gaps.
can plug in, exactly. So for me, that's how I decided, I'm going to set up a business that focuses on, building software for our own industry that understands our nuances. So for example, at CutStruct, we do procurement, right? So we connect buyers with vetted sellers of construction materials. There are a couple of those sellers who is a touchlight phone they use, right? So we have a team that basically receives their messages from the touchlight phone and feeds it into where it's supposed to be fed in for it, to give the value on the other side. So we understand all because we are here.
Because you're local, you're on the ground.
Absolutely, and that's sort of the mindset with which we are approaching it right now.
Wow. Okay. I mean, like, just listening to you speak about it, it's whoever said that a website sells one business very well. I mean, I think the person needs to go and rethink that ideology, because you have to. I mean, one has to hear you talk about what it is that you're doing to truly understand it. I love the work that a website will do. It will push you out there and make that first contact.
Absolutely.
But hearing you actually break it down, I mean, it actually just totally brings it, and then it's just like, okay, how do we start working? I have that question in my head already. But I mean, let's just say, so we say that this is why you're doing what you're doing, and you've talked a little bit about the challenges that made you start. Now, the challenges that you started with and the challenges that you're currently facing, I'm sure that they're different.
Absolutely.
So can you just highlight a little bit on what they were then and what they are now? And the reason for this question is because there's a lot of perception around what real estate used to be, and that is what it still is, whereas a lot of things have changed. And we need to start putting that communication or that messaging out that, look, things are different, things are changing. I mean, before we even got on, we were talking about the perception of Nigeria. Absolutely. I mean, we want people to understand and see that Nigeria is changing. It may not be as fast as we want it to be. It may not be perfect immediately, but it's a process. It's changing. So talk to us a bit about your experience of where you are coming from, experiences you went, the challenges you faced then, challenges that you're facing now, things that you're going through right now. Just happy to. And I will start with the internal ones, because I think those are even the more important ones that we face, especially in Africa. The internal ones include the fact that, we attend churches, we attend all the places, societies where, we always talk and pray against failure. And so what that does is that it frames a picture in our head that failure is a bad thing. Yeah. When actually, I don't even believe there's anything like failure as long as you're alive. I believe more in process. Right.
So for example, if you wrote an exam yesterday and you didn't get the right scores, yes, they'll say you failed, but the truth is that if you write it next year, then you are in the process, right? Yeah. And what that means is whatever is on the back of that exam, which is either entrance into school or whatever, you haven't failed at entering into school. Yeah. You've just failed at one action. Yeah. Right? So I think that's the first challenge of being scared to fail, because, they've made us believe that failure is such a bad thing, when in actual fact, what people call failure is actually process. Yeah. And so fighting that and sort of squaring up my mind to say, you know what, I'm going to go after this thing was the biggest challenge. But I thank God that I went through that, because once you get the first success, then it gives you sort of more confidence to go further. What was the next one? The next one was, we're in such a complex industry, right? And this is why the first one is important, because if you don't have that one figured out, at this next stage, you're done. You're done. We're in such a complex industry built around professionals. And, when they talk about boxes, they say think out of the box. A lot of times, boxes are frameworks. Yeah. Frameworks are like what we study. Yeah. So it's the way we do it, right? And they say think outside how we do it, outside how the box.
Where are you going?
Absolutely. The people in the box will resist.
Yeah.
Typically.
True.
Because this is what they've always known.
Done.
You know, this is what they've always done. And we're not typically excited about change. Especially when we can't see results from it immediately. So that's the second challenge. So you're talking PropTech and people are looking at what are you talking about?
Oh, yes.
You know.
That has been a pain.
Absolutely. The third thing is that typically, you know, and these are things that you'll find out, you know, that are sort of maybe psychological or emotional challenges. Typically, professionals pride in their profession.
Yes.
And so when you come and say you want to bring a technology to make it simple, this is the reason they call me in my family. Then you want to democratize it for everybody to have it. Right?
Once upon you want to replace me.
It comes across as that.
Yes.
It isn't that actually, but it comes across as that. So that's a major challenge. So you have to deal with those kind of mindsets. And the other thing is getting funding. Now, if you listen to the first few things I've said, that will show you that ideating such an idea and getting it to fruition typically will take time. And in Africa, we're used to more of transactional trade than investments. It's not what we sort of were brought up with. It's changing now, but it's still changing quite slowly. Right? So most of the money you will get here will be calling you tomorrow to say how far. As against what it is on the other side of the world, where they incubate ideas, they understand that ideas need time to gestate. They understand that ideas need time to sort of form. It needs to test with the market. You need to get feedback. You need to reiterate and stuff like that. So those are some of the challenges that we have here, finding the right kind of funding. And it can be an issue, right? And I mean, I don't blame anybody. It's a tough terrain.
Sure.
So some of the other ones would include even finding the right kind of people to work with you on the team.
Right.
Now, a lot of times people say, oh, I don't want to be micromanaged. But the truth is, a lot of us have grown up being micromanaged from secondary, primary school, where they say your teachers are talking, you can't talk. You can't raise up your hand, you can't ask questions. If you ask a question that seems like you're challenging your teacher, you get a knock in the head. They've been micromanaging you all your life. That's the general one. What of the ones that are gender specific, where they say, women, your own is home economics only. So they're sending you to home economics, they're sending you to food and nutrition. They're looking at you funny if you're in an engineering class. They're not supposed to be there. Or man, in my case, they're driving you out of the kitchen. So they're saying, what are you doing here? Girls, you know, so there are a lot of things that we deal with internally that play up when we now come to an international stage to do business with people who think globally. But we don't even know we're carrying these baggages. Those are some of the challenges that I faced. Understanding that, you know, being the leader of a team doesn't mean you know all. And that you need to be able to get feedback from the people that you bring.
Work with.
Now, the people you bring too are not used to leaders who allow them speak. So sometimes they see something is going wrong, they'll say, if Oga no see him, me I no go see him. Who am I? Right? Because the last time they spoke, they got knocked in the head. So there's a lot of things that we all deal with that a lot of us don't even know. And I think the biggest thing is that I think I've been blessed with two things. One, the gift of naivety. The fact that I was so naive to think I could build this business. And so when I got in, when I found the challenges, I was already in, and I have pride. So I know
you had to work through them.
And then the second thing is the gift of self-awareness, to be able to know that, okay, I'm dealing with these challenges. This is how I, you know, was made to see life, but now consciously trying to see life differently as it really is, and then trying to course correct, which is tough. Now, in course correcting, you now have to learn to also forgive yourself, because when you're trying to course correct, you'll make
more mistakes
because that's what you're used to. And you need to understand that about yourself. And then the third thing is now to also be able to transfer that sort of self-awareness to other people's awareness, so that now you can also work with teams, you can see where they're coming from sometimes and forgive them, just knowing that it is not. It's not
their fault. They didn't mean you ill.
And
but
maybe you can even be the light for them to show them. Now, the truth is, there's some people that you will not be able to show that light. And please, such people, you should be able to show them the door. But there's that, you know, need for us to see things a little bit more, you know, holistically. And that's why I decided to even start from the internal challenges. I think they're even the more important ones. When those are fixed, the external ones get a lot easier
to work with.
I sort of found it easier to raise my initial capital because I had built good relationships, And I understood what I have just said. So one of the things that I always did was that in conversation, I answered the questions of my investors before they asked me. Yeah, it's one of the biggest things that a founder can learn. Because once you get into negotiation, our guards are up. But when we're conversing,
you're chilled and you feel like, well, I'm just talking. But once they once that thing of I want your money comes into play, it becomes, And then they're looking for, where are all the loopholes? Where are the things that I can pinpoint for you, not to just give you the money? And
if you have covered those loopholes in conversation ahead,
they don't ask those questions because they're like, remember when I talked about this?
You don't even have to say it. They will remember.
They will remember, yes. And then it just
any investor typically thinks a certain kind of way. They have these check boxes they need to check, and they've checked them already in conversation. So that was like the biggest thing, one of the big things for me, at the time. And I think other challenges are just the general ones that we all have. Nigeria is tough, dollar is high, fuel is now high, so everybody's angry. A lot of times you have to deal with angry folks.
I like that you've touched on the part of investment, because everything that we're doing in this sector is investment driven. It's either you're getting investment from people that are paying you to do their work, or you're getting investment from people who are going to help you fund your company so that you are able to stay in business, or you're even just saying you are also invested in your stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So what would you say has changed since you went the PropTech way? In terms of investment? What has helped? What has changed? What has made it easier for you, if it has made it easier for you to basically move forward with your goals since you started embracing PropTech?
I don't know if I can say it's easier yet.
Okay.
But what I can say is that I think a lot of times we underestimate the value of advocacy. If there's one thing I want to leave on this podcast, is for people to understand the power of advocacy.
Right.
If I was asking you for something, right? I really need to borrow your laptop. Because there's interest for me, most times it casts a shadow of doubt for you. So you're wondering, does he really want it? Will he return it? That. But if I was asking you to give her your laptop, and I was saying, I know her, I know she's diligent, she will return. In fact, I gave her my phone yesterday, she brought it, she even cleaned it before she brought it, so it came back better. The fact that I have nothing to gain, you trust my word a lot more. And that's where advocacy comes in. Now, what I think has happened over the last few years is that a couple of us have come together, led by someone called Dr. Roland Igbinoba. You probably will know him. And we formed something we call PropTech Nigeria.
Yes, I've seen
where
that.
we basically advocate for PropTech. So we don't necessarily just sell our own businesses.
Absolutely.
We advocate for using technology to improve on the industry as a whole. And so CutStruct is doing construction materials. There's somebody called Sitemap who is doing like geotagging and geolocation. There's somebody called Split who is like breaking, rent into monthly
payments,
and into sort of multiple people coming, co-living. Right. There's somebody called Small who is helping people pay for stuff in installments, as against having to bring. There's somebody called PropCrowdy who is helping people to fractionally invest in real estate. There's Estate Intel who is bringing
all
the
data into play.
Of the industry into play. There's a lot of PropTech companies. And so we've started to advocate for ourselves.
And
I think that has been one of the biggest things ever, because it has caused us to now get attention from the people that matter. And it's not you just selling your product. Because it's a turn off sometimes when, you're just selling, I want to buy my this to give me money.
Exactly.
That it's just you. Like, this is now a group of people who are saying, listen, we're part of this industry. We see where the industry is. It's a great place. We appreciate what has happened in the industry. We also see where the industry can be with technology. And we're focusing on building solutions that can take the industry from A to B
to C.
And one of the biggest things that I say, especially to the people who have been in the industry, like, I don't like say old, but like the more experienced, real estate people, is that the biggest sweet spot is where those experiences are brought to work with the energy of the young, you know, and what we can potentially do together.
Right.
Unfortunately, typically in the past, we've always been about ownership, my own, you know, of my home I go, everything is me. But I think with advocacy, with a lot of discussions, we're now looking more at collaboration.
Yeah.
Because some of the biggest, you know, businesses in the world are businesses that have bought up other smaller businesses. They come together to do a lot. Anything you can do alone, if you ask me, is even small.
It's small.
Right? So who do you need to... I mean, imagine if you were doing your podcast only you. At some point, even you will be tired of your own stories. Right? But you open it to collaborations. You bring me, you bring the other guy, you bring the other lady. So it's fresh.
Yes.
You bring spice into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you learn something, you change something.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what, you know, collaboration does. And I think that's what has changed over the period. And what it is that we can now all become gateways, you know, to opportunities. Happy to say my company got, you know, selected into Techstars Toronto. We started, I think, in June or July batch, right? And what I see is that the other guys, and I don't want to call any nationality, when they get into things like that, they see it not just as an opportunity for themselves, but they see it as a door, a window for their brother that is back home. And they bring their people. And they give their people these opportunities.
True.
Typically, we are more competitive. So when we get it, we want to gloat. As against thinking, okay, I'm now in, how about how I can tell Lerato what to do, what I had to, what I suffered, what I learned, so that she doesn't, you know, suffer.
Go through the same thing.
And then I can now even make an introduction for her.
Right.
You know, and I think those are the things that we sort of need to change, but those are some of the challenges that we had faced in the past. But I see, I mean, I like to say that I see a stock of people who are thinking differently. A lot of the opportunities I have had in the past few months and weeks have been opened up to me by people as well. And so I feel like as long as we continue to sort of toe that path, we begin to build the new examples of how things are done. And then the people sort of coming behind us, you know, would also build on that. And hopefully we can have the Nigeria that we all dream of at some point.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's always going to need to be a collaborative effort. And it's not just about people in authority. It starts with that we're on the ground. What services are we providing? What's our countenance to how we do things? Are we willing and able to help the next person? Because it is in these little things that we're able to build the economy. Because the economy is not the law. The economy is the things that make it move.
Absolutely.
You know, and the things that keep it running. That's what the economy is. So, I mean, I'm learning a lot. I mean, I know that I keep watching. I promise you, I'm learning a lot. Like, for example, I've always seen PropTech Nigeria, and I've always wondered, okay, what is the open value? You know, to people that are in it, you know, because it's, to be honest, it's one economy, I like to say, that I've been looking to join, because it's basically what is the baseline of co-investment.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying, how do I join PropTech? How do I this? I know that you're a part of it. You recently celebrated 2 years or so, you know, being in there. And I know I saw that on LinkedIn. And I know that I follow Dr. Ibinoba's posts. I know the people that keep talking around it. I know the people that... And I've been like, okay, this is this, but how do I introduce myself? How do I... So now I'm happy that you have shared all that light. So yes, we will talk about that later. Absolutely. But let's come back to a bit about how you started. Affordability was one thing that pushed you in that direction. And the question then becomes, so with everything that you're doing, you know, with the fact that you're helping people build the processes, you're helping people match the products and all of that with it and all, how does that impact on affordability for someone, an individual who says, I want to build my own home, or I want to build property that I can be a co-owner of or a landlord of? I'm a big propagator of not everybody can build. If one person wants, for example, a 3-bedroom flat, you can't go and build a 3-bedroom flat all by yourself. You need all the other people that are also going to want 3-bedroom flats to also key in. Now, if you're saying that you want to make it an investment, and then 3 of you come together and say, you know what, let's build 12 flats. That's co-investment. That's where that's my own playground. But then we would definitely be needing your type of system to say, how do we make that work for these people? I want my platform to be the place that they come to when they say, I want to do co-investment, so that no one person has to do the work, or no one person has to be the one that's responsible, so that you don't just go and be cutting corners. That platform that just helps to manage the entire thing. But then I don't build. Building is not my specialty. It's not the work I want to do.
Absolutely.
So that's why systems like yours would always come in favorable. So the question then becomes, from what you've seen, in business, they would say, oh, by the time I started using this system, I crashed my expenses from this to this. Let's talk practical terms here.
Yeah.
How has it helped people who didn't used to use your system, and people who, vis-a-vis now when they use your system?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question. And I'll start by just talking about what the stats were even before we started building things like this. KPMG records that 80% of projects will go over budget.
Okay.
Yeah, 80%. So 80% of the time. So if we're doing 800 different projects, 80 of them will go over budget. And they will go over budget by an average of 30%. Yes.
That's all the equity technically gone.
Absolutely. So the question is, do we even really need more money in the ecosystem?
Yeah.
Or do we just need to be efficient with
more
the one that we
efficient
have?
with what we have.
If 80% of the time projects are going over budget because of inefficiency, and they're going over budget somewhere around 30% of the time. It dwindles, but we're talking averages here, so you already see what the problem is.
Wow. That's a big problem.
Now, the other thing I was going to ask you is, what do you think the biggest reason why people don't co-invest is? Trust.
They don't feel like that person is...
They don't know that person.
Yeah, they don't know the person.
And they know they've had too many bad stories.
Yeah.
So the first thing they want to tag you with is that you're one of those people.
Yeah.
Right? And so basically what we're doing is that we're building a platform that brings transparency, where if 3-4 people come together and say they want to do a project and they put money together, they put it in an escrow system, which we have, and then we're only disbursing materials to site, and we have a good number of vendors that guarantee that you can get the best prices. So what that means is that we don't have to trust or not trust you, because we've taken it away from you to a system that is incorruptible in a sense, and it's giving you the best price, it's helping you do the transaction, and it's recording the data automatically. Once upon a time, if you wanted to do personal finance accounting, you needed a pen and a paper, and every time you spend _1 you write. Today, if you put that money in GT Bank, for example, or in Money Point, or in any of the apps or banks that give cards, every time you swipe that card, what you should have taken a pen and a paper to write is recorded, and it's recorded clearly. That's what you call clean data. It's not corrupted. At the end of the month, you can click download statement
and just get,
and that thing that you would have been writing on a paper somewhere.
And if you forgot to write one entry, it messed up the entire thing.
Exactly. Right now, all you have to do is make sure that you use your card. And even when you go to the ATM and withdraw money, you would remember the circumstance that made you do that, because it was a process. You put your card in the ATM. That's what we're doing.
Right.
We're basically giving you a platform where all of you can come together, put your money. And every money spent, you can see it. You can see what time it was spent. You can see what material it was bought. You can see what price it was bought. So if you even need to query anything, whether it's the price, whether it's anything, you have
the data.
You have the data.
As you to be able to say, I want to check. Are their materials more expensive than I would get in the market? This actually gives you all of that.
And even when you find, maybe you find a vendor who can do it for cheaper, all you have to do is tell him, hey, you got to go on the platform. The advantage of the platform is the fact that you capture that data real time, uninterrupted.
Wow. It's beautiful.
As long as they make a payment, it's registering. So you're no longer writing your expenses on an Excel
sheet
and
and
multiple
all.
Excel sheets everywhere.
Yes.
The data is gathered from multiple people. It's clean. You have access to the one that concerns you.
Right. And this point, this transparency of information and all is literally, for me, when I was building the entire co-investment platform and community and all of that, I was looking for that transparency. How do I ensure that there is transparency, in everything that we do? Does an investor have to keep asking me for reports and updates and all of that? No. So by the time we get to the point where we're doing projects that we have a good level of control on, all I have to do is install a CCTV. You go in, you punch something, and you can see the reports. Something generates the reports that everybody has pulled together, compiles it into something for you as a co-investor, you get it. When we're managing the property, when we're taking bookings, when we're taking clients and as rental, you should be able to see that raw data. The co-investment platform is not necessarily for, somebody, we want to come and make money off of you. No, we're coming to make it easier. And this is why I kept saying that, I'm looking forward to when we can work together.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't start wanting to do co-investment by saying, I want to go and build. But I found out that the better way to do it would be to actually be involved from the construction stage. But then the question then became, do I want to do that headache of chasing one supplier, one this, one that, which is how I found CutStruct.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, CutStruct says they do this. And I was reading through. To be honest, I've read your website and I was like, okay, you say you do this. I've seen people that you've worked with, I've seen this. And I'm really excited for what it is that we can say the PropTech industry is going to do.
Absolutely.
Which is why I'm very encouraged when you also say that you are leveraging on advocacy.
Absolutely.
Talking about the entire thing, talking about what it is. And this is why I enjoy doing these podcasts, and I enjoy saying, I don't want to talk about just me. It can't be me. What I'm looking for or what I'm hoping that we can achieve is bigger than just me. I can't change the world. We can change the world.
Absolutely.
And if we want to change the world of property investing, it can't be just me.
Absolutely.
It has to include the person who is helping people to build. It has to include the person who is helping people to furnish. It has to be the person that's helping to ensure that each place is secure. There's so many elements, because when you get all those ones right, it's easier to get people to give you their money. Because
Absolutely.
they see it,
These
just like you
have
said.
the money, they sometimes are even looking for where to invest it. The problem is we haven't shown ourselves as worthy of the investment.
That's it.
And that's what we need to work on.
And that's what we need to work on.
That's
So
what we
I
do.
told someone, I said, I want us to have conversations around the property investment ecosystem as a whole. How do we make it safer? How do we make it more attractive? How do we make it more viable? Because this stat that you gave, that you said 80% of projects will go at least 30% over budget, that is why people say that they don't make money.
Absolutely.
When you lose all the money in the construction, you could time everything. And I think that's also why a lot of developers are struggling to get money.
Yeah.
Because that statistic alone.
Money goes to where it's safe.
Yeah.
Money is almost like I was going to say like a woman.
Wow. Oh, yeah, well, thank you very much. We are safe.
Women need to be safe. Safety sometimes can come from money, which is why a lot of people are, sort of money conscious these days. It can come from a couple of different places, but generally, nobody wants to. I mean, sometimes when men complain about women, I'm like, if it was your daughter, do you want your daughter to be somewhere
exactly.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Point is, same thing with investment, with money. A lot of times people complain about investors being this, investors being that, asking this question, they ask you for your mother's store.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, it's because a lot of the time they've also given this money to people who didn't use it for
what they're going to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the reason why our industry will struggle, with financing is because of all the opacity. They're just like, they can't see through. They don't have control. So when they give you this money, they just have to hope
that you're going to do
20, 30 times before you, they hoped and it failed.
Yeah. True.
And it failed for the same reasons.
Every time you are saying, please have patience, they're like, patience for what?
Exactly.
How much longer?
Exactly.
But the real estate market needs patience.
Yeah.
Because that's where you make money.
Yeah.
It's not in getting in and jumping out.
Yeah, but you see the clarity has to be if we're waiting for the factors to connect, that's
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
from when, money is being misappropriated and
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
likes, which is why that level of transparency is
What is
needed, is
needed.
required. I see a construction industry where over the next 3 to 5 years, a lot more money comes into it
Yeah.
just because people feel a lot safer.
Clean and that they
And-
see more.
Yeah, and that's going to rely on platforms.
Yeah.
Platforms like CutStruct
Yeah.
with the materials, platforms that deal with finding you the right workers.
Yeah.
Is one that we're currently talking to partner
Okay.
with. Labor Hack.
Oh.
They basically certify construction workers for international and local gigs. Platforms that help with facility management
Right.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I've built this property and I'm not a facility manager.
Yeah.
How do I
How do I
with
manage it?
Yeah.
How do I make sure
So
it's working?
All those platforms are really what's going to help the industry become more attractive to investment. And the truth is, you don't need to fight for investment. When you make your business and your ecosystem more attractive, the investors have a mandate to disburse that money.
True.
So a lot of times we look at it backwards.
From a different angle,
Yeah,
and
you
that's you have to make it safe. You have to make it attractive. You have to make it viable, and then that's where everything else comes.
Absolutely.
I mean, which is why when people say, "Oh, on your pages you don't put the property offers," I say, on my social media page, I'm not going to put the property offers up there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what to look for, how to find it, and what it is that you should be expecting when you do. Because there are so many websites. You punch in property, I'm looking for property in so, you'll find so many websites with all of the property options. But then, do you know what you're looking for? So
although I just had an idea here.
oh my god.
You might want to find a partner who deals with the options and collaborate so that people can find you as a one-stop shop as well.
So that's the thing. So I have myself, I have co-investment, and I have my agency business. So my personal page is the one that I'm saying that I wouldn't put the property options on.
Got you.
But I have my agency page,
Got
my
you.
agency business, which has all the property options, which
Got
has
you.
the options on there.
Got
So
you.
it's kind of like a complementary thing.
Absolutely.
But people say when they come to me on my own page, and then they're saying,
Give
but
them
you don't post.
Give them a link. Give them a link.
So I said, you want to look at property? This is the link.
Yeah.
Check
absolutely.
here. It's here. What one are you looking for? This, that? It's here.
Let Lerato have a life.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Let Lerato have a life.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So, John, thank you so very much. I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation
I hope so.
immensely. I know we'll have many more.
Absolutely.
I think my brain is fingering on at least 2 or 3 more conversations that we can definitely have. And I will definitely love to have you back again, maybe in another capacity where we can talk a bit more and all of that. Or maybe even just have a site to visit and say, this is kind of how it works with you guys.
Got you.
I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But guys, you've heard it all, and I hope that you've gotten as much value as I have gotten. I mean, I'm here, I've gotten so much value, and I've enjoyed it. But till next time, when we come up with another episode, another interesting topic, I hope that you'd stay with us and tune in. If you're not yet subscribed, please do hit that subscription button and the notification bell. Hit it so that you cannot miss any other conversation that comes. Till next time, adios.
Adios.